Hello everyone, I'm going to show you how to take one GFI outlet in the bathroom and essentially turn it into a four outlet. I'm doing this so that my girlfriend can essentially use more outlets without having to unplug and replug everything in. So first things first, just make sure you have the breaker turned off. I'm checking this with just an outlet detector, no light. Another thing that I've noted is I used a stud finder to find the stud. This is a little stud buddy. It essentially connects to screws within the stud so you can tell where they're at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install this old construction gang box, which when you cut a hole, these little grippers tighten up, they pull tight, and then that's what will essentially have room to cinch up and put the outlets in. So I'm going to remove this outlet, pull new wires in here, and then create additional wires. I do have enough room to the next stud because I do have found that the next stud is here. So this box will essentially go in the wall right about here. So first I'm going to start by removing the outlet cover. Pretty simple. Most people have done this before. So just remove these here. Set that to the side. And now I'll use this nice little handy DeWalt screw. When you turn it left or right, it makes it a little quicker to remove these outlets. So I'm just pull that out like that. Pretty long screws. That's why it's super helpful. Okay, pull that out. Pulling the GFI out enough to see the wires. What I'll do is I'll also double check that as soon as I can find it with a little multimeter tool. This is essentially another tool that'll tell you if there's power. So I'll just touch that to the black lead in the neutral, and that would normally light up. No power. Touch it, won't get shocked. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this GFI alone actually. Well, no, I'm not. I'm gonna pull all these wires out of the back here. Loosen these all up. That'll allow me to pull the wires out. Something to note is that there's a bottom set of wires and a top set of wires. Basically what a GFI does is it's like a miniature circuit breaker. So on the back here, I'll remove this so you can see it. Remove that ground wire there. Okay, so on the back here, you can see where it says load and line. Line is the side that is bringing power in. Load is the side that is going out and to. So you can kind of see that from the breaker, it says right there, from the breaker to the load. So these top wires will need to be wired with my outlets. These basically come into the bottom of the GFI. And what I'll do is I'll mark these just enough so that I can tell. Let's see here. I'll just make a little mark in the paint here. Kind of put a little scratch there. That way I know which ones these are. And let's see. Now what I need to do is I need to pull this box out because I'm essentially replacing the box. So I have to unwind these ground wires. So I'll take these apart and twist them apart. Enough so that I can get them apart, straighten them out. Okay, and again, I can remember the longer set of wires is essentially my line set, so I'm going to keep those. Those are the ones coming in the box to the left in there. So if I look up in there, I can see they're on the left. And now I need to remove this box. So it is bolted to the side of a stud. So if you see that stud moving in there, if I push on this, I'm gonna get a hammer in there and pull that loose. get a crowbar, get the right tool. All right, so I'm back. I didn't get a crowbar, but I got a bear claw. Essentially, it's like a nail pulling tool. I'm gonna get in here and kind of break this box apart. This is a fiberglass box, so it should come apart pretty easy. Okay. And so there's essentially 2 nails holding this box together. And you gotta remove those 2 nails. And you can pull that box out. Actually, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna cut this hole a little bit wider so I can pull it off since I'm going to a bigger box. Okay, pull that out of there. Now we can pull this box out completely. And so you can see those 2 nails that were holding it. And again, here's my line side. Keep that up over here so I don't lose that part. These are my loads. Okay, so essentially what I want to do now is I want to make this hole big enough for this box. So I'm just going to mark with a pencil how far I want to go. And I can do that by just lining it up here. Basically cut to that line. And what I want to make sure I do as well is make sure I cut a straight line so I can kind of use this box just to make sure I'm square on this hole. These tabs right here essentially is what holds it, so I don't want to cut out too much drywall. So that's pretty good right there. So I'll just kind of make some lines where I can. So you can kind of see those lines there. And if I wanted to finish that line up, I could. Cutting it right there and right there. Okay, put that box aside, finish. Now there's a drain pipe back here, so I'm gonna be careful not to cut too far. Okay, perfect. And just so you can see where the stud buddy is there, you can see the stud in there. I'm not all the way to that stud. Here. See in there. So there's that stud. Okay. All right, so next I need to install this box. So I'm gonna pull my line wires in first so I know which ones those are. I'm just gonna stick them through here and yank them in there. First I'm gonna kind of stretch this tab out a little bit. Make it a little easier, push the wires in there without marring them all up. And I will reach inside of the box and pull those wires in. Okay, so there's one set. I'm gonna pull the second set in as well. Same thing. They're going up, so I'm mounting them in the top side of the box. Okay, so we'll pull those ones in. So my line wires are the longer ones and they're going in the top right. And I'll pull these guys in. And as I slide this box in here, you get more wires pulled in. So there you go. Box fits nice and snug in there. These load wires are a little short. I'm gonna try to pull them in here with these pliers. Okay, make sure I don't mess the jacket up. So there's those. New box is almost installed. So these little tabs, you gotta be careful because you can strip them out. There we go. Tighten the box in there. see it cinch up. You don't want to over tighten it because you'll strip those tabs. But you want to make sure it's tight enough that it's sucking in here. And that's why this screwdriver is really nice. Okay, I'm gonna get some new wire and I'm gonna show you how to wire this up for the remaining outlets. All right, so now we got the live wire here, the line wire, sorry. And I'm going to get these all straightened out so that I can line them up in the GFI. And again, we're coming in to from the breaker side. And hot is the black wire, white is the white, or neutral is the white wire. So I'll stick that in here. And I will use my hand screwdriver for this work. Tighten that down. Okay, so we've got multiple outlets here, and I'm gonna have to wire all of these up, and I'm gonna do them in this order where the USB is closest so that that wire doesn't have to hang as far. And so what I want to do is I want to create two pigtails that come off of the bottom of this breaker. So I went ahead and cut some wires, some 14 gauge wire. And I'm gonna do the same thing for the top. So load black, hot wire. Okay, I'm going to use the ground wire at the bottom. Okay. And so what I'm essentially going to do is tie all the ground wires together and all the black wires together. That'll wire them in what's called parallel. So I need 3 more pigtails for these 3 extra outlets. I'm going to take the wires that had the load on it previously, and they're just going to be tied together. So the power will go through the GFI, out the top 2 line wires. Tighten that guy back up. He came loose. Oops. And I'm reusing the old GFI to save 16 bucks. Make sure these guys are all snug down good. Don't want to over tighten them. Okay. So what I have essentially done is I'm going to make more pigtails. And how you do that is you take this wire and you cut it not too deep because you don't want to cut the interior insulation of the wires. Pull them out. And then you can use these wires to make them as jumpers. So I'm going to strip them with these strippers. I use the 12 gauge setting. Or the 14 gauge, sorry, I keep saying 12 gauge. Usually use 12 gauge wire. 14 gauge wire is white. So I'm stripping them enough just to get the wire nuts on there. And so I'm going to put a little bend in them. So I'm going to grab all the black wire. So I got three jumpers for my other outlet, for my outlets. Just kind of bend them so they're all nice and together. And what I want to do is wire all these guys together. So I will take these, get them all the same distance. And sometimes it's easier to use a pair of pliers. So once you get them together, five wires is quite a lot. The reason this is difficult is because this other load wire in here is kind of hard to get to. I'm actually just going to take and put a wire nut on there. So what I'm doing is I'm just making sure all the wires are pushed in there as I'm doing this, so that they're all twisting together, making sure none of them pull out, which some of them are trying to. I'm gonna redo that. I'm actually just going to twist these ones together. So get those guys together. Get these guys in here. All right, so now all those wires are in there. They're all touching. I got my 3 black wires. Okay, we'll do the same thing with the neutrals. Put all these together. Okay, got my neutrals all tied in there good. Now the ground wires all tie together as well. So I will push these back in here a little bit, pull the ground wires out, twist those together. Same with the pigtail for the ground wires. And I made these long so that I can snip them later when I pull them into place. Okay, and then we'll pull these all to the side. Put the ground wires on the bottom since that's where they attach to. And then we'll get this outlet here mounted in here. Same way so I'll start this with a regular screwdriver so that I don't strip these threads out. Get this guy out. I'll center the outlet as I'm screwing it in, because when you put the plate on, you want to make sure all your outlets are equally spaced. And I won't snug this down too hard. I want to actually test it. Okay. All right, so that one's in. Next is I'm gonna put this outlet in next. And you can see that this has hot and white. So I'll just do hot and white. And then there's a ground wire at the bottom. I'll slide the ground wire in there for this one. So what I'm gonna do is let's see, hot is on top. So I'll take, 2 of these wires over here. That'll be one outlet. 2 of these wires over here. Untwisted, that'll be the second outlet, and then this is the outlet I'm wiring right now. So what I'll do is I'll cut these to about the same size, strip them. I want to make sure I don't have too much insulation. Ideally, the insulation's covered. Cut that ground wire seam. So I will hot wire up here. Looks like it's got to be loosened up a little bit. Open her up. And all this does is clamp the wire. So there's one. Snug it down real good. Do the white wire. Snug it down real good. And then the ground wire, same thing. And this ground wire, because it doesn't have a clamp on it, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my pliers, and just twist a little hook there. And you can hook it, tighten it down there, tighten that guy down. That ground wire won't come off. So there's that outlet. These are the same thing here. Hot is the copper wire, copper looking wire. Silver is the white. So again, I'll have hot on the right, white on the left, and then my ground is bottom left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these to length. And I will strip them with enough so I can do a hook without too much insulation showing. So I will, because I'm tightening this to the right, I will twist this one up so that it doesn't untwist. And obviously I'm being careful not to cut it. That one's twisted down to go with that one. And then this is the same thing, it's gonna twist down for the ground wire. And then I will hook these guys, tighten them down. Hook this other one, tighten it down. I like to use the hook rather than there's a push in the back. You can just push the wire in. Those can come loose, so I like to do the hook. Quicker to push it in, but this way, better install. So we'll do the same thing on this other outlet. So we got black on the right, ground bottom here. I'll cut these, and I give myself just a little slack so that I can have some room to work, but I want to make sure I trim off enough wire so that I can fit everything in this box, because there's a lot of wires here. Strip these guys. Same thing, just enough room. Again, twisting the black wire up. And these are Klein's. Klein makes some of the best electrical tools, so try to buy that. So again, we'll hook this guy, pull it in there, tighten it down. Same on this side. Tighten it down, and then tighten this guy down. Last ground wire. Okay, so what I'll do is get all these outlets, make sure the wires get pushed in here good, but make sure that none of the wire nuts come off. And this is gonna, I wanna make sure this guy gets in here good because he's kind of big, just like the GFI. Usually I wouldn't put the bigger receptacles next to each other just because you will have less room in the box, more issues to contend with, but I want them in a certain order so wires aren't hanging down so much when you plug in your 2-volt and 4-volt USB outlets. Plenty of room on the left side of this box, as you saw. The big outlets are on the right, and all the wires are pushed all the way, all the wire nuts are pushed all the way in the back. So I'll just tighten all these guys down, push them in, make sure they fit, center it. Make sure it's centered. So what I'll do now is make sure they're all good. And I'm gonna turn on the breaker and we'll test these guys. And then I'll put the cover on. So as you can see, the GFI is green. Green there, green there, and green there. And then this little item has a test the GFI thing. I can reset the GFI there. Green, 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 green. Okay, so all my outlets are good. Next, all we have to do is put away a few tools, just kind of clean up a little bit as you work. And we will put this wall plate on. So open that up. And make sure this guy fits, which pretty much fits on the first go. So that's good. And then I'll just tighten these guys all down. So this is a pretty complex wiring. You can post in the comments if you have any questions, but in general, all house wiring is pretty much done in parallel, which means all the outlets come off the same branch of wire. It's probably a little hard to understand, but I can probably draw it out and make a little more sense. Let's get this guy over. gotta be careful not to break these wall plates. They're pretty fragile. So again, just to recap everything, you have your line wire coming in. It's coming into the one side of the GFI. This is your breaker here in the middle. Then on the opposite side of the GFI, all those wires get tied together and essentially feed each individual outlet in kind of like a ladder shape of a circuit. And so there we go. We got ourselves lots of outlets, and the girlfriend should be pretty happy when she comes home. If you'd like to see any more projects or have any more ideas for things that you'd like to see, I have a couple other videos out there. One just about how to frame a rough opening of a door, installing a water softener. I haven't posted in a while, but I'd like to. Got a few 10,000 views, so I thought I'd give this a shot and just start recording as I do these minor remodels. I've been doing this stuff for about 25 years now, so may not be an expert at any one thing, but definitely know quite a bit about everything. So if you please like, follow, and let me know what you think in the comments. There we go. Thank you guys.